What is up, guys? I hope you are excited for today's episode, because if you are looking to transform your body, if you're looking to get lean for the summer, if you're looking just to drop a couple pounds, put some muscle on, and feel good, then today's episode is for you. I'm going to be talking about the 3 things that you need to know to transform your body to get ready this spring for the summer. Now, this is one of the most busy times of the year when it comes to working out, and that's because the sun is shining and people are outside a lot more. So this makes people feel the need to get fit more, right? Because number one, you're getting out of those sweats, you're getting out of those baggy clothes, and you're starting to get into this position where you're ready to start training and improving and getting better and all of those good things. Now, so today I wanted to make sure that I gave you all the tools, because I also see that when people get excited about this time of year, they often make some mistakes, and some of those mistakes are, right? Some of those mistakes are they either cut their calories or they cut their carbs, or maybe they're like going on a super restrictive diet. And like these things, guys, they're going to temporarily help you, meaning like you'll see 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and it will feel good that you got it off. But I promise you, a lot of the times, like that weight's going to come back, right? That weight's going to come back, and people are going to start to see that you can't always do that to get results, because once you do it for the first time, it's like your body remembers it, and then you do it for the second time, your body remembers it again, you do it for the third time, it's just not going to work, right? So this is like, your body is really smart. It adapts to anything that you throw at it, right? This is why it can survive on no water for a really long period of time. It can survive on food for definitely food longer than water, but like your body is designed to be able to adapt, survive, and most importantly, to thrive. So today I want to highlight what it is that you need to do, instead of the things that that a lot of times people are kind of pushing out there in this space, in the fitness space, in the nutrition space, right? So, everyone's got their new diet, or try this thing, it's better than the last thing. So today, not only am I going to tell you like what to do and what to avoid, but if you hang out to the end, I'm going to show you and tell you how you can get your hands on some things, some tools that can help you out as far as like your nutrition, and I'm going to give you those tools for free. So in order to learn a little bit about that, you got to hang out to the end, and I'll tell you what it's all about. So guys, the 3 things you need to know about transforming your body for the summer, and the 3 things I would say that you need to avoid, right? So the number 1 thing you need to avoid is going to be, doing any kind of restrictive or fad diet. I just kind of said that, right? Like, this is not the time to focus on restriction. This is the time to focus on fueling your body, right? This is the time to focus on giving it what it needs, right? The second thing that you want to avoid, right? The second thing you want to avoid is going all out, and people have this all out, all in mentality where it's like, they just go super hard and they're all in, or sometimes they're like just dial out and they're not doing anything, right? So I want to teach you today a little bit about balance and how you can actually balance your approach, and this is going to help you in the long run be able to be super successful, right? Now, the next one is going to be, I would say, like the hidden secret, right? The hidden secret, and it kind of goes with number 2, which is like that all out, right? Most people go all out, all out, all out, right? So they put their body under like a tremendous amount of stress, right? So the stress is super high, and now the cortisol hormone is kind of like going through your body. So you don't want too much cortisol flowing through your body if your goal is to build muscle and to lose fat. You actually want to be making sure that your body's in more of a restful state, right? More of a restful state. You don't want to be stressed out. You want to be in a recovery state when you're supposed to be recovering, and you want to be in an amped up state when you're training. So we have words for that, right? Sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, right? So it's making sure that we're giving love to both of them and not just the one, right? Because a lot of times we're super sympathetic nervous system driven, meaning we have so much stress. There's like things happening in our life. We're going to work, right? Like we're answering, then we're trying to train on top of that, but we never really put that work on the parasympathetic nervous system side, where it's like working on our recovery, right? Getting some more sleep, making sure that that you wake up and have a more productive day by not being super tired, right? So these are the things that most people are kind of ignoring when it comes to transforming. And today, like I said, I want to talk about the things that you should be doing. And I know should, I hate even saying should. And if you're listening to this on the podcast and not on YouTube, I'm using the air quotes. But like, let's be real. If someone was coming into my gym and they were going to train with me, these are going to be the things that I would evaluate. And then this is how I would approach it, right? So this is the way that I approach training. This is how we've been doing it for 14 years. This is how I've been helping people lose anywhere from 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 60, 75, 100 pounds, right? Like, this stuff is not it's not even a guess anymore. It's more of a system, right? It's like, what do we do? How do we send a normal client through our training program? What do we do? How do we help them thrive? How do we help them get results, right? So the first thing that we do is we help them with their nutrition, right? Because nutrition is 90% of the battle. Right? So if a person comes to us and they've been doing a lot of fad diets, so when we do an intake and we start asking questions, we're going to be able to figure out, okay, this person, has tried a lot of diets in the past. This person is eating super low calorie for a while, right? They're active. So all of these things are going to point to the fact that this person's metabolism might be a little shot, right? If someone's just coming to us and they are like eating unhealthy, they're eating lots of processed food, they don't move that much, and now this is an opportunity for them to kind of like get in shape. Well, now what I would say is this person's approach is going to be like just kind of cleaning things up, right? So there's a different approach for this person because for them, almost anything that we do is going to work. And for them, we have very specific things that we need to do that need to work, right? And I think this is where we kind of get into a lot of problems in our space, is that everyone's looking for the one thing. They're looking for the magic bullet that's going to solve whatever problem that you're going through. But the reality is everyone's different. And a lot of times we don't even know the answers. It's a lot of trial and error. So the thing that I would say is, after seeing so many people come through in like this bucket of, I work out, I eat healthy, like I've been trying to get lean, like it's almost like, like, hey, this person needs help with like getting them more nutrients. We probably got to bump their calories up a little bit, right? We might even have to, like, if they're super, if they're like super metabolically adapted, we call it, we might actually need to reverse diet them, right? Depending on how severe like they were. If they have like a chronic history of dieting, well, yeah, sometimes we might actually have to reverse diet someone to help them actually start seeing the results that they want to see, which means that in the short term, they're going to not see the results that they want to see, but in the long term, they're going to get back to a healthy state, and that healthier state they might actually find they like better than when they were, working so hard to get lean, but then their body wasn't, feeling or producing, feeling or performing the way that they wanted it to, right? Because like that's the other side of the coin here, is that nutrition is not just about losing weight and changing your composition. I think a lot of people get this misunderstood. Nutrition is also about how do you show up, how do you perform, how do you feel, right? Like these things are very important when it comes to getting results in the gym. It's very important when it comes to having a healthy and balanced life, right? So you don't just need your nutrition to help you when it comes to like your training. You need your nutrition to help you when it comes to also supporting a healthy metabolism, right? So the next thing, and like I said, guys, 90% of the battle, like we really mean that, like 90% of the battle is just focusing on eating better, right? Like a lot of people think that you have to have perfect macros or perfect calories or follow the perfect plan. But the reality is you really just need to be following something and then over time be progressing that plan and getting better, right? So many people in the beginning of their nutrition journey feel like they have to be all in to see results, when the reality is like eating 3 meals a day, drinking more water, eating more protein, eating more fruits and vegetables. These are all like little one habit things that could actually help move you forward. So just implementing one of those 4 things that I just said right, would actually help you start seeing results, right? It's not that difficult in the beginning, at least for the person that I said that, maybe is not eating that healthy, not moving, not that active, right? Just starting to lean into a healthier lifestyle, you're going to start to see changes, right? Going for walks more often, things like that, you're going to start to see your life start to change. I promise you. So if you're like stuck right now because you think like the battle or the hill is so uphill that you don't even want to start because like you're all in your head, well, I hope that helps you understand that like start walking and then eat some fruits and vegetables this week, and I guarantee you're going to feel better, right? If you can connect that for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're probably going to see changes on your scale, right? So a lot of times what I help people do is help them almost kind of gain clarity and almost decrease that stress around what they need to do by just giving them a simple plan that they can actually follow and be successful with, right? If you give someone a plan that's too complicated, right, they're not going to be successful on it, right? The reason why is because like before we even start, like our brain looks at like a complicated plan and we're like, oh man, this is great. This looks perfect, right? This looks perfect. But then like right away, like we get excited. So we get dopamine when we look at the plan. But when it comes to actually implementing the plan, well, that's work. And when we have to put the work in, sometimes it's like, whoa, man, this is a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do this because I'm comfortable right now. So we have to understand that that is a huge part, right? So because we know that, this is why we start with the training wheels on. This is why we actually help people crawl before we can help them kind of like stand up and kind of scaffold like a baby, right? And then they can walk and then they're starting to run, right? So the first step is just taking a step, right? And that's why I say it's 90% of the battle, but it's not like super hard work that you have to do to make you feel like, oh, it's going to be impossible, right? And then the 10% is I would say 5% is moving, and then 5% is going to be number 2, which is like reduce stress, right? So we just talked about nutrition. So nutrition ties into stress, right? When you're not eating enough food, you're going to increase your stress. When you're not drinking enough water, well, you're putting stress on your body and your organs to work harder than it needs to, right? When you're dehydrated, a lot of people don't realize this, but there's a rate of perceived exertion that we use in exercise science. So this is like the rate that I perceive that I'm working, right? So studies show that when you're dehydrated, your rate of perceived exertion goes up. So if we were using a scale of say 1 to 10, 10 meaning this is extremely hard, if you were dehydrated doing a workout, you may perceive that workout to feel like an 8 versus if you were hydrated on a different day and you ate the right food, well, you might feel like that workout is a 6, right? And that's the difference, right, between having the right micronutrients in your body, having the right, amount of water in your body for it to function, right? So you can actually decrease the stress on your body on a metabolic standpoint. Now, on a psychological and physiological, like how we operate in the world, well, this is like the whole Marie Kondo, less is more, right? If you're in a cluttered space, if you're got a really long to-do list every day, if you're like here and there and there and here and there, like things are going to get really, really difficult for you. And what you really want to be looking at is like, all right, instead of, trying to work a lot hard, like there's a book called 10X is easier than 2X, right? 10X is easier than 2X. And they use scientific principles in this book to show you that, if you just like, think differently about your problem, you would have a better opportunity at solving it than trying to work harder to solve your problem. Does that make sense? So if we're trying to solve the problem for dinner, right, we don't know what to eat. So one of the coolest things, and like I said, I'm going to give you access to, is a nutrition assistant, right? So one of the cool things that you can do is by taking away the stress of not knowing what to eat, you could be like, hey, like, what should I eat for this week? And like, learn how to know what's for Monday, what's for Tuesday, what's for Wednesday, what's for Thursday, versus somebody else might say, hey, what should I eat today? Right? Like, these are all questions that go through our mind, and whether we know it or not, it creates a lot of stress, right? It creates a lot of stress because these are thought processes that we need to make, right? This is like, oh, I need to figure out what's for dinner. Then I got to like figure out when I'm going to cook it. And then I got to figure out like who's going to watch the kids while I'm cooking. Am I watching the kids? Well, that's going to be really hard. That's really stress. So like it's so easy to get stressed out. And like I said, when cortisol is going up, you're not losing weight, right? How to know if your cortisol is high? Well, one of the areas that we store body fat when our cortisol is high is in our lower abdomen, right? So that lower body fat is a lot of times tied to stress, right? Cortisol. So what we want to be thinking about, how do we decrease this, right? And this means it kind of ties into that, like I said earlier, we shouldn't be in this all-in mentality. We shouldn't just be working out super hard. Some workouts, if we look on a scale of 1 to 5, it's okay to have a couple 1s, a couple 3s, and a couple 5s mixed in there, varying your intensity so that you give your body the proper amount of time to recover, right? Because the results come into recovery, and your body can't go into recovery when it's too stressed, right? And a lot of times this will actually affect, in a negative way, ladies' hormone and menstrual cycles and getting pregnant. If you're in a super high stress state, your hormones are going to be all messed up and you're not going to be able to get pregnant, right? So it's important to understand that if your body's in survival mode, it's not in thrive mode. It's not in reproduce mode, right? I heard this when I was going through the Nutrition Coaching Institute, and it was like, when you're running from a bear, you're not getting ready to give birth, right? When you're running from a bear, you're not getting ready to give birth. And I think that so many people, when we think about specifically if it's ladies listening to this, like getting in shape and like getting ready to have a baby. I know that when we went through this with my wife, we were really looking at balance, right? Looking at like, not so much about like getting rid of food, but like what foods did she need to be eating to make sure that her body was healthy and ready to be able to have a healthy pregnancy, right? So you don't have to be getting ready for pregnancy, right? You could just be getting ready for life, right? So most of my clients are 30s and 40s, so their bodies are changing. And, I would say now more than ever, as your bodies are starting to change and you're going through pre-menopause, menopause, post-menopause, like all those things are starting to happen, I would say like this is the time when we should actually focus more on balance, right? This is when we should focus more on getting healthy fats into our diet, more on getting lean proteins into our diet, fruits and vegetables, right? Drinking enough water. This is what we call the PN4, the Precision Nutrition Core 4, right? If you focus on those 4 things, you're going to start to see the results that you want to see because it fixes everything on a metabolic and hormonal standpoint, right? So if we're doing the nutrition, we help fix our body and reduce stress, but then we also need to do other stress reductive or reducing activities like meditation, going for walks, getting in nature, like intentional stuff that's going to lower your stress. I didn't really think that this was important until I started to get older, because as you get older, number one, it's like your stress gets higher because like there's more responsibility that you have, specifically when you become a parent, right? Your stress goes up. But like most people don't take their recovery up with that. And I would say even when I was training and I was younger and I was an athlete, well, I didn't need much time for recovery. So I didn't really put too much time and energy into recovery. Like I did stretching, I did yoga a little bit in college, but it wasn't until I started to get older that I started to see this stuff is really important to be doing. So now when we're thinking about recovering, right? Like this is why you're seeing like steam saunas, ice baths, flotation, like all of these things. You're starting to see all of these things start to come online now. And that's because people are starting to pay a little bit more attention to the recovery side of things, because they're also starting to see that recovery is super important, right? So recovery is important because it's going to reduce the stress. And it's going to leave you with the most important thing, and I left it for number 3, which is strength training. Right? A lot of people kind of find their way into fitness by kind of doing a lot of body weight or like going on YouTube and getting workouts. So it's a lot of free weights. And, so we kind of go down this HIIT road, right? And in the beginning, it's really good for you to do HIIT because you're just not really doing anything. So, doing Zumba, like doing spin, anything like that, and you're getting moving, well, that's going to really help you, right? That's going to really start to get you, I would say, going in the right direction. So if you're in that part of your journey, then keep going. But eventually you're going to need some strength training, right? And the reason why strength training is so important is because when we think about like long term, like if we do a HIIT workout or a cardio workout, like we're going to burn calories in that workout. But when we do strength training, it's almost like the muscle that we're building in a workout is almost like an investment savings account, right? Like over time, like we're saving, like this money is like building interest, right? So what do I mean is that like as we build muscle today, our metabolic rate tomorrow in the future is going to be higher, which means that it's going to be easier for you to lose weight without necessarily doing anything. So imagine if you could just like sit on the couch, click the channel, and if you did that like 12 weeks ago, you would burn less calories during that time. Right now, so 12 weeks forward, you're now burning more calories while clicking the remote. Like, so you didn't do anything at all, but you're on the way to losing more weight. Does that make sense? Because 3,500 calories burned is 1 pound of fat loss. So the goal is to build muscle so that we increase our metabolic rate so that we burn more calories per day without necessarily doing anything. When you start burning more calories every single day without doing anything, well, now it just makes it that much easier to lose weight, get lean, stay lean. You don't have to put too much pressure on yourself to be on a diet all the time. And this is what the secret is. This is what most people that are, have gotten to that next level of fitness where like, you're like, oh man, like they must like have a really clean diet. They must not eat anything or da-da-da-da. No. Like they still eat, like I eat not that great all the time, right? So my thing is balance though. I'm about 80-20, sometimes 70-30, but at the end of the day, I like my snacks and I like dessert and I like, sometimes drinking calories, whether it's a soda or a Gatorade, so sometimes we're not always going to be on point. We're not always going to do what we're supposed to do. But if we find balance and we understand some of those basic principles, then we're going to be all right. One of the basic principles for me has always been when I lift heavy, right, and I'm moving quick and I'm sprinting, right, doing conditioning workouts, that's the leanest that I've ever been. That's the strongest I've ever been. That's the most powerful I've ever felt, right? And it goes all the way back to high school football when I would do conditioning all summer, getting ready for football. So when I was doing concrete even as like a side job in the summer, like doing a lot of work like that, a lot of times, doing that stuff, it kind of shapes us. It kind of builds us, kind of molds us, and helps us in the future. So if you didn't have that in the beginning of your life, it's okay because you can start that now, and for the rest of your life, you can enjoy working out and strength training and feeling like an athlete, right? Because when you're doing the strength training, when you're building muscle, right, when you're doing the conditioning, right, when you're doing those things, well, you're going to see that it's not that hard to get into a composition that you feel comfortable with. Right? So if you're deadlifting, if you're squatting, if you're like, doing some sprints, if you're swinging some kettlebells, doing some chin-ups, like you're putting in the bank some really good money, right? Some good money. It's going to like double in interest, right? Like imagine that, like double in interest. Don't quote me on that because I know some of you guys get on YouTube and you get on the comments and you're like, stop with misinformation. Like guys, come on, like for real, like we're sitting here going off the cuff with a couple notes here, shooting a freestyle with you guys, keeping it real. So keep the hate to a minimum in the comment. No, I'm kidding. Give it to me all. I don't really care. But strength training, guys, it's going to be, and I know a lot of people might feel different about this, right? Strength training I care more about than conditioning. I do think the cardio and the conditioning is important, but I think that like if somebody was just getting ready to start working out, I would just be doing some strength work with them 2 to 3 days a week. And a lot of times it would just be starting off with like body weight and some light free weights. Like a lot of times people feel like they need to be doing like heavy resistance training and stuff like that. And the reality is like all you need to be doing is body weight, kettlebells, TRX, resistance bands, light stuff like that, and you're always going to be doing okay. You're always going to find yourself in a good position where your body's going to move well, right? So after you get through that phase, however, we call that ninja phase, by the way, in our gym. So this is like when we first get you working out and you're just starting. So a lot of people feel intimidated when they're going to a gym. So it's important to make sure that their workouts are going to be workouts that they're capable of feeling good in, right? A bad workout, there's no such thing as a bad workout unless like you feel beat down and exhausted at the end of the workout. Like that's not what we want, right? We want you feeling like you still got a little bit more in the tank. So it's important, and this goes out to all my fitness guys out there, my fitness guys and gals, like stop beating up on beginners, man. Like I can't take it. I cannot take it seeing people like who are like they're in that vulnerable state where they're just getting ready to start, their fitness journey. And, they have a lot of trust in us fitness professionals. And, we go and we smash them with a workout because we feel like we're going to feel better, right? We smash them with a workout and like we show them like, oh, we're good because like we do really hard workouts. So now all of a sudden, we feel like we feel bigger as a trainer, right? It's all about the trainer's ego versus like your client is sitting there feeling like, man, like I don't really like this workout, or like, man, like working out is really hard. Man, like I don't know if I'm ever going to like do another workout like this again, right? And I think in our field, we should be leaning people towards like the right path and showing them the way versus like getting on Instagram and showing them really hard exercises that they're not going to be able to do in their workout. This is what we're up against right now, right? This is what we're up against right now. The information that's going to break through and that's going to get your attention more is going to be someone who's got no shirt on, right? Or maybe like a little skimpy outfit, and like they're working out and like that, and they're doing stuff that's really hard that makes fitness look like you have to like be super in shape to be able to actually do. And meanwhile, like there's people that just want to work out, feel good, be healthy, and live a better life. So it's just like, man, like let's just do that, right? Let's just focus on body weight. Let's just focus on some kettlebell. Let's just focus on some dumbbell. Let's pull a sled. Let's push it, right? Let's teach them the basics of fitness. And then as they start to grow and kind of like progress, well, now we can start focusing on like, let's start building muscle. Let's start like, training hard. Let's start performing like an athlete. Let's start, doing Olympic lifts. Let's start like then when we start doing all that, like that's when they're ready, right? But if you get people coming in the beginning, like, and that's why I say like we work with beginners and we work with intermediates. And then what we do is we just help you level up, right? If you're a beginner, we help take you to intermediate. If you're intermediate, we help take you to advanced. And like, that's just how we do things. All right, guys, so I'll catch you on the next episode. It was real, Coach Chris, and I'll catch you later.